Good morning, students. Today we would do a quick revision of the bail application. Now, when we talk about bail application, when a person is accused of committing a crime, and is going to be arrested, then he has a legal right to file a bail application, seeking to be considered to be released on bail. Now, when we talk about bail, in general sense, it is an order to release on bail a person accused of an offense and restores the person to his freedom, but technically he is considered as being delivered into the custody of his surety, and they have control and dominion over him. So in other words, if we talk about this term, is used in our common law for freeing or setting at liberty anyone arrested or imprisoned upon any action, civil or criminal, and surety undertakes for his appearance at a certain day and place. So bail is the process of securing legal release from custody of an accused charged with certain offense. Also, when a person is, released on bail, he has to furnish security and execute a bail bond, and he has to comply with the bail bond and appear before the police officer as and when required. And if he fails to do so, it will result into termination of his bail. Now, when we are talking about bail, so if we talk in the terms of Blackstone has defined bail as a delivery or bailment of a person accused of an offense to his surety upon their giving, sufficient security for his appearance, he being supposed to continue in their friendly custody instead of going to a jail. So, bail materially refers to a release of a person from legal custody on deposit of security and undertaking that he shall appear at the time and place designated and submit himself to the jurisdiction and judgment of the court. A law lexicon has defined bail as a security for appearance of the accused person on giving which he is released pending trial or investigation. So the bail of the basis of a bail is the principle that there is a presumption of innocence of a person till he is found guilty. Now, on what basis a bail is given? Because on this basis, on this presumption of innocence of a person till he is found guilty. So a person is presumed to be innocent unless and until found guilty, and this is the basis for giving a person or releasing a person on bail after executing a bail bond and furnishing security. So basically, instead of going to a jail, he is in custody. He is in a friendly custody of the surety. So moving ahead, the difference between bailable and non-bailable offense. Now, if we talk about these two offenses, now Section 2A of Criminal Procedure Code defines bailable offense as an offense which is shown as bailable in the first schedule of the code, or which is made bailable by some other law for the time being enforced. And non-bailable offense means any other offenses. So offense under criminal law are classified into bailable and non-bailable. Bailable is those offense where you get bail as a matter of right, and in case of non-bailable offense, all other offenses are regarded as a non-bailable offense. Now, if we talk about use for non-bailable offense be ever released on bail. So I told you now bail in case of bailable offense the person gets bail as a matter of right, but in case of non-bailable offense the person can be released on bail on the discretion of the court. So yes, it does not imply that a person who is accused of non-bailable offense would never be released on bail. The release of a person accused of a non-bailable offense is left to the discretion of the concerned authority, whereas in case of bailable offense, it is the right of the accused to be released on bail. I hope this is clear because this we've already discussed in detail in class also. Now, anticipatory bail. This is there in section 438 of CRPC, but the word anticipatory bail has not been defined. But when we talk about anticipatory bail, whenever you know that you are going to be arrested, so before you are arrested, you go in for anticipatory bail. So where a person has reason to believe that he may be arrested on accusation of having committed a non-bailable offense, he may apply to the High Court or Court of Session for a direction under this section that in the event of such arrest, he shall be released on bail. Now you're saying in case of anticipatory bail, you can apply for anticipatory bail only in case of non-bailable offense. Why? Because in bailable offense, you are already getting bail as a matter of right. You will get bail in those cases. But in case of non-bailable offense, it depends on the discretion of the court. So before you're, going to be arrested, you apply for anticipatory bail. And after taking into consideration, different factors, the court may or may not allow this anticipatory bail. And what are the things that court will take into consideration? The court will take into consideration the nature and gravity of accusation, and all the things that I mentioned here, the antecedents of the applicant, including the fact as to whether he has previously undergone imprisonment or conviction or not, the possibility of applicant to flee from justice, or where the accusation has been made with the object of injuring or humiliating the applicant by having him so arrested, either reject the application forthwith or issue an interim order for the grant of anticipatory bail. So you see, there's a provision for anticipatory bail also for in case of non-bailable offense where you know or you have reason to believe that you would be getting arrested. You may apply for anticipatory bail, and court may or may not grant anticipatory bail, after taking into consideration certain factors which are mentioned in the slide. Now, we would just quickly discuss few landmark cases on this topic. This all you would be doing when you in detail when you would be studying CRPC. I'm just giving you the case laws and just a highlight of this. Now, in case of DK Basu versus State of Bengal, Supreme Court issued certain guidelines which were required to be mandatory followed in all cases of arrest and detention. So all those guidelines, if you want to see, please read this case. Otherwise, you would be doing it in detail when you study CRPC. Joginder Kumar versus State of UP. In this case, it's 1994 Supreme Court judgment in which it was held that an arrested person being held in custody is entitled, if he so requests, to have one friend, relative, or other person interested in his welfare told that he has been arrested and where he is being detained. So to inform the person or your close relative that you are being arrested and you are being taken to this place where you would be detained. So it is your right, if you request, then you should be entitled to this remedy or this right. In Arnesh Kumar versus State of Bihar, it's a 2014 Supreme Court judgment in which it was held that arrest being humiliation curtails freedom and casts scars forever. Lawmakers know it, so also the police. So there's a battle between the lawmaker and the police, and it seems that police has not learned its lesson, the lesson implicit and embodied in CRPC. See, whenever you're arrested, even if you are free, from all the charges, but still being arrested, it puts a scar on your character. It gives you humiliation, and your freedom is curtailed for certain period. So lawmakers are very polite, when it comes to putting a person behind bar. So there's always a battle between the lawmaker and the police. Then it's a very important case, Sheila Base versus State of Maharashtra, 1987 Supreme Court case. And in this case, it was the main highlight was that it is the duty of the police officer making arrest to see that the arrested females are segregated from men and kept in female lockup in the police station. So, to male lockups and female lockups are to be segregated, and it is the duty of the police to do that. Now we come to the main tenet of our syllabus, that is drafting of bail application. Now this is the format of bail application which I've already shared with you earlier also. Today again I'm discussing it. So the first thing that you write is the name of the court, then in the matter of, then the details of the parties, petitioner and respondent, then the FIR number, under which section you have filed, then the heading, then your submissions. See, now when you're submitting, what are you writing? In the first, you're writing the details of the FIR and where the FIR was filed, and that you are in judicial custody. That is one thing you're writing. Now the petitioner is, the next line is that the petitioner is innocent and being falsely implicated. Then see, this is how you write a bail application. Then you have to actually prove that the person is a law-abiding citizen. that he has not been previously convicted of any other offenses. So on this basis, you may get bail application. See, you have to portray your character to be or the character of the person detained to be a good character, so that the court may be pleased to grant you bail. So after submissions, you will write your prayer, then the petitioner's name, then the name of the counsel, then the place and date where you have filed the bail application. So this is how you will be drafting a bail application. Now, whenever you're drafting any application, this is what you do. Then, and that is first the name of the court of presentation, then the name and description of the applicant, then the verses, then the name of the complainant, accused, and the brief description, then the heading of the application, followed by the body or substance of the application dealing with the facts in detail. Then the relief or prayer should be mentioned, then place and date should be mentioned, then signature or thumb mark of the applicant should be there, and then verification if any. Now, whenever you're drafting any application, you need to, again, I'm quoting it here, you have to state clearly and concisely the fact for filing the application arising under the specific section of law. Then also you have to, certain words or terminology from the, text of the section may be used to indicate reliance placed on the section in the application. Also, an application should be drafted with care and should be scrutinized before being presented to the court. And lastly, in case where the counsel has no personal knowledge, it is desirable to obtain the signature of their client on the application, since the responsibility of the statements of fact would be shouldered by the applicant and not by the counsel. So this was all about the bail application, and I hope there is no confusion now with respect to bail application. And if still you're facing any problem, please feel free to call me, or just drop me a mail or a WhatsApp message where I can reply to your queries. Thank you, students.